Well, welcome to this week's episode of Conquerors Quest. I'm your host, Apostle Vince Brown, and today I got a really special guest for us, man. I've known this brother for over a decade now, man, and I've seen the growth in him. And he actually was in Conqueror Ministries' first ordination class. He is known throughout the state of North Carolina. He even has some things going on nationwide. You'll see him in DC on multiple panels, all kinds of good stuff, man. This guy, sometimes I have to tell him, slow down, slow down, slow down. And he listens, but he's like me. He only knows one speed, and that's go. And um, I'm just really, really happy to have him finally on the podcast. Our schedules always conflict, but you know, God works in his timing. And today we're going to chop it up on a lot of good stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the one, the only, the change agent of change agents, Reverend Philip Cooper. What up, Coop? What up, Reverend Coop? Hey, man, turn your mic off for me, man. Let's see here. Yeah, you muted yourself. There he is.
What's going on, Apostle? What's up, big bro?
What's up, Evangelist? Man, we
can't
talked
complain.
about this over at Cracker Barrel a couple of months ago when I was getting this thing underway, man, and everybody's schedule was shifted. I know I still hadn't had Pastor Sandy McLaren on here, and you said you'd come on behind her. She had something come up with some health issues. We've been praying for her. She's going at it, and then you had so much going on. I know you were in and out of town, and then daily operations over there at your nonprofit. So tell us a little bit about Operation Gateway, man. How'd you get that thing going there?
Well, first off, let me just say, man, thank you for having me on here. It's always a blessing to share space, whether it's virtual or in person, with other kingdom citizens. And you've been riding with me since the beginning, on my way here to where I'm at now. But it came from me working inside the system. I had worked inside governmental spaces and was, for lack of better words, a gatekeeper of resources. And I got to see where there were gaps in services. I got to see where there were rooms for improvement. And after being really a grassroots minded individual with a big old heart that is hungering and thirsting for righteousness, I was like a bull in a china shop working inside those government jobs.
Not you, bro.
So it was like, I also like, and I know you into Marvel too, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you remember how Killmonger was when he found out where the vibranium was, right? That was kind of what it was for me. While working inside of those government jobs, I was learning where all of these resources were, hence the analogy of vibranium. And I was wanting to get it to the people immediately because I was like, I know where they need this at. I know where they need this at. And the red tape and just, how it is with bureaucracy. What I eventually did was transition into the grassroots and founded the nonprofit Operation Gateway, whose mission is to decrease. It started out with a mission to decrease recidivism by addressing the social determinants of health of returning citizens. But we redid our mission statement, and now it's together. We leverage lived experience to transform lives and reduce the stigma of recovery and reentry. And I founded the nonprofit, big bro, so that we could be liaisons more so from those places that have the resources. Where there are gatekeepers, there is a gateway to the people to make sure that they get the resources. And we started out with a hyper focus on those coming home from state prisons, and it has opened up to serve those also coming out of jails and long-term treatment programs.
And that's awesome because that refers straight to the gospel of restoration, man. Restoration, and me and you are both big on recovery because God has delivered us from the tremendous addictive behaviors to our self-destruction. Where we're both incarcerated in penitentiaries. You in the state of North Carolina, me in the state of Tennessee, and looking at where we're at, I think you're at, correct me if I'm wrong, 17 years of sobriety.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I,
sir. Working on 18.
my peeps. I'm at 26, you're at 17, and that's more than a lifetime for most people if we
Come on.
combine our walks. So we might get into that a little bit later because we're going to touch on recovery. But I wanted everybody to know what you do, man, and it's a thankless job. It really is. You take a lot of
Yeah.
criticism in the community. You get a lot of praise in the community.
Hmm.
There's some days you want to pull your hair out. I know we talked this week, man. You
Yeah.
you gave me a call, and we were both having one of those weeks where like, man, is
Hmm.
draining. But
Yeah.
we got the Holy Ghost.
Hallelujah.
That's the only way we could do this. And,
Only
and
way.
you've told a lot of people you can't do this in your own strength. You've
Mm.
got to rely on the Holy Ghost. So my first question, because everybody always asks me this. So you're a connoisseur of branding, right? You believe in branding like I do, but you run it deeper than I do. I give credit to a master. I'm a semi-professional. You're the professional, but what is a change agent? Because I go all over the world and I always got your branded gear. I've got Spirit Strong t-shirt on today, but
Hmm.
because it was the first one on top of the clean clothes there. and I
It be like that sometimes.
so I grabbed that one. I was like, man, it's Saturday. I'm doing the podcast. I'm going to relax. But um I go everywhere and I've got multiple colored t-shirts with change agent and a message. Either you guys are supporting something
Hmm.
on the back as a sponsor or the
Yeah.
sponsors that support your movements in the community. How
Hmm.
did you come up with change agent, man? Everybody asked me, even Jonathan Kahn, the
Yeah.
well-known New York Times best-selling author, was like, what's up with the change agent shirt, Apostle?
Well, man, when I'll take you back just a little bit. So when I was in prison, that was when I found my calling, because I started working as a peer counselor while I was incarcerated myself, and
Mm,
that's when I first found that God is using my pain to turn into purpose. He is using my testimony to free others, and I started doing this peer counselor work. And so when I came home from prison, I said, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna get my degree in social work. I'm gonna become a counselor. And so when I went back to school for human services at the community college, in the intro to human services class, they called us change agents. And when I
mm,
seen that, I thought that was super cool, right? Change agent, right? And so I have actually
mm,
given it a definition though. So the definition that comes from change agent Cooper is a change agent is a person who sacrifices to fight for the underdog. I'm gonna say it one more time, Apostle. A
mm.
change agent is a person who sacrifices to fight for the underdog. And
Wow.
that sacrifice can be your time. And you know how it is to get pulled on, man. Like everything that we do ain't even our job. It's not in our jobs description. It's not in our duties. But the calling on our life requires us to do something that nobody else is willing to do, just like Jesus did. You remember when he healed on the day, they say, I know good and well you ain't healing on the Sabbath. You know how them Pharisees was. But like a person that's willing to sacrifice to stop what we're doing to help someone else. And it's not even just in behavioral health and addiction profession. It can be law enforcement. It can be
Mm.
a teacher. It can be a counselor. It can be, a person that's in a classroom that listens to keep that teenager from dying by suicide. A change agent is willing to sacrifice something to fight for the underdog.
Man, that's powerful.
Hmm.
That's good, man. That's so good. Um, yeah, I always tell everybody it's my boy's label, and he's doing it.
Hey,
And
it's cool too. I ain't gonna lie, man. It's to the point now, like even on a national level, and I'm gonna be in DC this next week. When people hear change agent, it's almost like change agent is like tied back to me, and it's
yeah,
cool. And it's also another side of it because I be wanting people like when I be getting these shirts out, I don't be want people to be like, hey, Coop. I be wanting people to be like, hey, tell me what's a change agent, and then they give them their example of what they do. That's why I do a lot of the posts. Them posts I be doing in people giving them a shirt and talking about what it is that they do. Because I really, really look. I like the spotlight, but I like the spotlight so I can shine it on other people.
yeah. Because I mean I was I was back in Uganda a few months ago, and people asking me, "What is a change agent, Apostle? What is a change agent?" And I'd break it down. I said, "You're a change agent right where you're here, right here
Yeah,
at in Barara or in Bale or
yeah,
Kampala. You could be a change agent."
that's
So
right.
that's awesome, man. Let's talk about recovery because that's how me and you met.
Hmm.
We met at a Celebrate Recovery. And in fact, that was your date night with your now wife, Renee.
Yes.
And just tell us about how you got into the whole recovery part, especially faith-based recovery, as opposed to our good friends at AA, which I came out of AA.
Yeah.
You were really strong in NA,
Yeah.
and kind of highlight on that, man.
Yeah.
And that'll kind of take us into another part we're going to talk about today that's very dear to both of us.
Yeah. So, I love recovery, man. I really, really love it because it gave me purpose. It reintroduced me to God. I was raised knowing the Lord. Now, I come from a
Mm.
rural family. My family come from the rural, and that's God's country where they all love the Lord. You know what I'm
And
saying?
where's that at? Where's that in
Down
North
in
Carolina?
Cleveland County, North Carolina, down there, a little town called Lundale.
All right.
Everybody love the Lord. You got bootlegging down there. You might find you a real pretty woman, and once you get home with, you might see her fill her lip up with some snuff or
All
some
right.
or some chew tobacco. You're like, oh man, what you got in your lip? So I come from the rural parts of North Carolina, and I mention that because like everybody love the Lord, no matter where they at in their life, they love the Lord. They know how to pray. They was made to go to church.
Mm.
And so for me, like I know the Lord, and when I got on the drugs and everything, it got to the point to where I was never the person who was mad at God. I was
Mm.
always like hoping that God would forgive me because I was down on myself, because I would continue to return to using because I
Mm.
wasn't doing the inside work, Apostle. To
Right.
me, that recovery, living a life of recovery, is consistently and continuously doing
Internal.
the inside work. Yes, sir. What is my inner world like? And so whenever I got introduced to the recovery process, which started out in the secular fellowship. Shout out to NAAA, Bill
Mm-hmm.
W. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy K, who started NA. And when I was in there, the 12-step process taught me how to live my life, taught me how to be free of the resentments, how to release my shortcomings to God, to help me how to be restored, how to do an inventory, how to continue to get closer and closer to God by way of praying and meditation, taught me how to meditate and what meditate was. And then, I found this new way of life and a way to actually disciple people by taking them through the 12 steps. It's a beautiful thing. And as you asked me, how did I get to the Christ-centered side? Man, I start taking, them hits that I was taking, bro. Like
Mm.
losing loved
Yeah.
ones, man. And like in the Bible, it talks about, God is close to the brokenhearted. Blessed are those who mourn. And so as I was taking these hits, these losses, and not all of them was physical death. Sometimes it was grieving relationships, grieving old jobs, but whatever it was, I was getting close to God, and me being close to God and close to godly people, right,
Mm.
was
Mm.
what I
Mm.
needed in that season. And then I found Celebrate Recovery because I didn't know about Celebrate Recovery. And when I found this Christ-centered recovery, it was a wrap. I was like, hold on. We mentioning Jesus in here? You know what I'm saying? We mentioning scriptures with the steps. Hold on, wait a minute. What we got going on in here? And that's what it's been ever since, man. I've been locked and loaded with Celebrate Recovery. That's where I met you at, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Since 2017.
Yeah, we rocked it at the at the Rock Church, man.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that Celebrate Recovery, you got to know your soon to be wife
That's right.
and everything, and you've been through some trials and tribulations like most people can relate but not really understand.
Mm-hmm.
They could empathize with you, but the Christ-centered part was what got me, because the one I was at over in Middle Tennessee was like, well, we're not gonna say anything about religion. Your higher power can be that table over there, and I'm like, nah, bro,
Mm-hmm.
that's not working for me. I have to have
Yeah.
something grounded, and I
Yeah.
knew the truth, and a lot of people in there knew the truth.
Yeah.
And then I got turned on to Celebrate Recovery probably
Mm-hmm.
in 2000 and I want to say 2003.
Mm.
And we would go over to the largest Baptist church there in Murfreesboro, and we take the guys from the Lazarus Project, man, and just. And I remember my first, and I want to drill down on this because you're very good at relationship,
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and what comes out of it. Because a lot of people want to go to the meetings, but they don't want to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna check my box, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
check my box
Yeah.
in my recovery. I'm gonna check my box. But when you said internally, I got to work on myself
Mm-hmm.
internally, which means pull back the layers of the onion.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about step study. Let's
Yeah.
talk about, because that's a commitment, right? And then,
Yeah.
then you get in all your junk and you get real uncomfortable. Let's talk about step study, man.
For sure, for sure. Step study. That's where you build relationships with other men or other women because it is gender specific
Right.
for a reason, right? But you get to build relationships with other people who are bold enough and trustworthy of the process enough to peel back those layers in a group setting. And that takes a lot of courage. And I don't know about you, but man, when I get around some brothers that got the same higher power as I do, that's on the same mission as me, and they courageous too, bro,
Yeah.
locking arms. This is Sparta. Nah, but
Spartans.
you know what I'm saying? And like going deep in there, man. Like I've been through step study in the secular, and I've been through a step study, on the CR side as
Mhm.
well. Currently going through the steps in recovery alive. But I'll tell you, man, that the way it is in there is, as you say, peeling back those layers. Like now, I'm not running from people that I need to forgive and what they done
Mm.
at this point in time, safely now, because we do have to pay attention. Certain situations may require professional help for a person to really visit those areas, and we preface the step study with that,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But being able to look at these things, man, people that I have to forgive these resentments, because we be knowing when we got a resentment now. You
We
know what
know
I'm
when
saying?
yeah.
We be knowing, but in step study, ain't no, you can't sweep it under the rug. It's like I'm really getting ready to deal with this because I'm gonna honor my brothers that's in here with me that's putting
Mm.
stuff down. I'm gonna put my stuff down too. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna honor their commitment by way of truly participating and putting stuff down like that, and looking at defects and talking about insecurities. You know what I'm saying? Getting it out there. You know what I'm saying? I ain't running from it no more. I'm putting it out there. I'm telling y'all who I am and what I struggle with. Because then at that point in time, that what they call rigorous honesty, and now you can really help me. You can't help me, my brother, if I'm not honest with you about what it is that I'm struggling with. And then those
Mm.
step studies, man, that's what we get trained to do. And it's the lifestyle, because even after we finish a step study, now this is our lifestyle. You feel
Mm.
me? This is our lifestyle, and being able to talk about those, no, those other things in the closet. You feel me? Because like some of us, we're not some of us, but all of us, there are root causes that get us to those hurt hang-ups and habits,
Yes.
and being able to deal with those root causes. And the beauty of it is when there's another person that's in the step study with you, and they done had similar experiences, and then you're not alone. And there's no better feeling in the church. This is bigger than Sundays, of course, but there's no better feeling in the church than finding somebody else who can identify with the struggle that you done had, man. There's no better feeling, especially after you may have had a negative experience with a church or people, negative experience with some people in the church. Because people say church hurt, and I talk about church hurt too. But there are
Yeah.
people in the church that hurt folks, right? And then we call it church hurt. But not all people have a pleasant, welcoming experience, especially people with tattoos, smell like cigarettes, whatever it may be, but criminal records. And so when you get to these step studies, this is a supplement of the church. Because people need small groups to be able to live a godly life. Some people think you can just go to the meetings and not do the work. That ain't good enough. Because when life on life terms show up, if you
Mm.
ain't did no work, come on now,
Mm.
somebody,
It's
you're gonna
gonna
go
be
right. Yep.
exposed real quick, fast in a hurry, man.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, fast in a hurry. And I think a lot of churches seem to think that they're not a hospital, but a
Mm-hmm.
resort. And you should be fixed before you come in the doors. That was the whole reason why the church, you bring the hurt, the loss, those in need of recovery, those in need of spiritual breakthrough. You bring those to the church
Mm-hmm.
for the healing. You don't expect them to get healed outside the walls. When you go to the hospital, do they leave you out in the ambulance and say, get it right, and then you can come in and recover? And I think that's a lot of the hang up nowadays is people don't, and I think a lot of us forget what God delivered us from.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say a lot of Christians have short-term memory loss.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
You forgot just how jacked up your sin was before he delivered you.
Mm-hmm.
And before he cleaned, and some of you are still got band-aids on because you ain't want to look at the wound.
Mm.
But you acting like you whole. You didn't covered it up. Maybe you got a little beat up in
Mm-hmm.
life, but you'd put some makeup on to cover it, but you hadn't addressed the bruising that's going on underneath
Come
there.
on.
Put some
Come on.
ice on it, put a little something on it, put a little healing ointment. Pastor Dana is all about that Neosporin. I used to not be a Neosporin guy, but I've been married to her long enough now. I'm like, let me get a little Neosporin. That'll speed the healing up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what you're saying on that, man. That's some good stuff, man, because people are really hurting, man.
Yeah.
Self-esteem. I think the biggest thing with most people is self-esteem, and they don't know who they are.
Yeah. The
Especially
identity.
when you've been branded by the systems or society. I said this the other night. For many years, still in my thought process, I had to shake that the state of Tennessee had given me a number. Because when you're locked up, they give you the number, and you're known by your number.
Come on,
Now, on the
sir.
yard, you got your nickname, because everybody got a nickname on the yard, right? And they call me Preacher and Joe College. That's what they would call me. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
But I know the state of North Carolina gave you a number, and it took a while for you to, you got the hat on today that says Stigma Slayer.
That's right.
They want to put a stigma on you. The stigma is a disease, an affliction.
Yeah.
Right. That's on you. So, case in point, with the work you do every day at Operation Gateway, people are coming out of prison needing recovery, because let's be honest, it's hard to do recovery in prison.
Yeah.
It's harder to do it in prison than it is to do it in the streets, in my opinion, because you're surrounded with so much stuff. You're trying to focus on, I got to do my time. I'm not getting in no foolishness with y'all, or else I am getting in foolishness, or just depending on what your background is, who you run with, who your clique is. Which leads me to something else, like, because I want to spend kind of the first half of our conversation on recovery and all that good stuff. But then I want to talk about ministry, and what does ministry look like to you, a non-traditional man of the cloth, right? When I say non-traditional, you're not seminary trained.
Yeah.
You're Holy Ghost trained, in the streets trained. And me and you have gone over a lot of things as far as coaching. What does, as an apostle, that's my job. What does it look like? Just helping you walk through the daily of doing ministry. But let's talk about one big thing that's going, because I know everybody. I think Daniel's on the board for this. Our good friend, I think Daniel Conway. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
The WNCRCC Recovery Rally, September 3rd, coming up. And it's going to be a packed square here in Asheville, because this is an international broadcast. So don't go outside your doors thinking it's going to be there, because we're in Asheville. But 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I'll be out there with my current employer, Western Carolina Rescue Ministries. And I know more than likely Operation Gateway, who is at the forefront of a lot of recovery services in this area. You guys are going to be out there too. This is the second annual. And kind of elaborate, because you know a lot of people involved with this. In fact, you've raised a lot of these people up.
OG status, what's that called?
Because now you get into that father granddaddy status in the community, right? So just kind of elaborate on that for me, man.
Well, I'll humbly share this. The whole recovery rally talk, bro. Like, I started it up in 2019. I had rallied some folks. I was at the time I was working for AB Tech Community College. Had rallied some folks that reached out to Captain. I think his name is Cyberman from the APD. Had reached out to the sheriff's office. Had some guys over there from the sheriff's office. Several nonprofits were attending the meetings. Sunrise, Love and Respect. There was no Operation Gateway at the time, by the way. Operation Gateway was an idea then, but it wasn't an organization yet. Had some folks from different agencies like RHA and things like October Road. So we had some heavy hitters, Oxford House. So we were meeting. We had met with John Fieldman, I think is his name, with the city of Asheville. And then the pandemic hit. So we ended up not having it back then. And so, got some new energy along the way that was able to get it across the finish line. And, and I've also been a part of the Recovery Community Collaborative for many, many years. And it's been around for a while. I salute them. And I'm so grateful that it has its own nonprofit status because it's major, because we're such a big recovery area in the state. Like I would argue that we're the most recovery friendliest county in the state of North Carolina.
I
And
would agree, and we're
yeah,
one of the leading ones in the nation.
in the
Actually,
nation, yeah, leading
people
in the
come
nation.
here just for the recovery
Yeah.
services.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fact, bro. And like, so just grateful that that recovery rally is happening. My sister Jess Jowdry, she's been putting in heavy work. She loves it, and it's a blessing to watch her energy because she
Mm,
be so hyped getting stuff together. Because everybody's got these different superpowers, and
yeah.
she's the kind of person, like, she is consistent, she is energetic, and she has poured her all into making sure that this recovery rally has birthed. Because I may have had an initial vision, but the visionary alone cannot bring it to life. Come on now,
Mm,
somebody. And so,
mm.
like, other heavy hitters that have contributed to it, other organizations that have contributed to it, the county standing behind it. Because, you have to have the government being a part of it. Public private partnerships are needed for us to truly have an impact on anything, right? And so, this recovery rally is a big deal. For people to come, and there are different pathways of recovery. I agree. You have Christ-centered recovery, you have NA, you have AA, you have people who do smart recovery, you have Recovery Alive, you have a Crystal Meth Anonymous, you have people who do the medication assisted recovery. There are different pathways that people choose. There are people recovering from mental health challenges. Come on now,
Mm.
somebody. People who are recovering from divorce, people who are recovering from grief. It's different things that people are recovering from. And I am just grateful that the word recovery is no longer something that we want to mention so low in a conversation.
There's not a stigma attached to it.
Come on, sir.
Yeah.
Especially in this area, man. You
Yeah.
can't get in an Uber coming from the airport without somebody they either in recovery or can't speak English. Every time I come back from travel, I kid you not. Check with me when I'm on my way to DC next week. Text me and be like, so tell me about your Uber. And I bet you it was either they couldn't speak English or there was a person in recovery. It never fails.
Amen.
Yep.
Hey, you mentioned DC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that just popped in my spirit. I didn't have that written down on my production notes, man.
Yeah.
You're going to DC. Tell us a little bit of that about that, and then I want to transition to something me and you talked about, and then we'll get into ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what you're going to be doing in DC this upcoming week, but also transition that into housing first versus what just came out. They just had that big meeting. They had that big old think tank thing going there in DC, and about recovery first
Yeah.
is the shift from housing first. And then when we chop it up on that housing first thing, people gonna be like, y'all mad? No, we're not mad. We just know when
Yeah.
you've been in the war for this
Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
So
Come
tell
on,
us what
sir.
you're doing and what poor Renee has to put up with while you're gone. Shout out to
Yeah.
your lovely wife, because she's like Pastor Dana. She put up with living with you and living with
Yeah.
me. They both those
Yeah.
ladies know.
Hey, one thing I will say, man, is our predecessors, and God who is in heaven, Jehovah Jireh, for sure gave us Proverbs 31 women, and we would
Mm,
not be able to do what it is that we do without them being able to support us in the way that they do. Amen.
correct.
And
Yeah.
I'm grateful to have that, bro, and grateful. And that's what people don't get to see. Matter of fact, I'm gonna celebrate my wifey loud
Come
today.
on.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, people don't know what it takes to do this, man. Some people just want to post on social media, and when something is trending, it be a topic that they want to talk about. But man,
Mm,
we in the trenches, bro, and been in the trenches.
yeah.
And even if it ain't our job, we still be the ones to take the phone calls to try to help somebody. Come on now,
Yep.
to help somebody get a resource, whether it's our job or not. And people don't know what it's really like for us. They like the change agent definition, a person who what sacrifices to fight for the underdog.
Sacrifices.
But let me get there because I'm here for it. You asked me about the housing first and the treatment first. I'm here for it. And everybody might not agree, and I don't care. Like, I do the work. Like, us
Yeah.
people who do the work, we don't too much be worried about going back. We really don't got time to go back and forth on
Forth
social
with
media
you.
because we doing the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I 100% agree with treatment because I have worked in the field, bro. I came home from prison in 2011 and I worked at the Neil Dobbins Center. And when I was there, I was like Hakeem on Coming to America. I'm very happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? I was ready to do all the jobs, bro. I was doing the vital signs, running the groups, feeding them, doing the habitation checks. I was doing it all, man. I was so glad. And I would be in the day room. Like when some techs would like to hang out in the bubble with the nurses and conversing about life or whatever else, guess where your boy was at? In the day room, in there with the clients, talking about life and all kind of stuff. Man, I was so glad to be free out of prison. I'm Mr. Recovery. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in there having conversations with people, and I'm learning about, like, I'm in there with people who wasn't trying to change at all, that knew how to work the system. You feel me? I'm
Yeah.
not saying all of them do, but I know a lot of them that
A
do.
lot of people do. Yes.
Facts. I've
Yes.
worked on the discharge
Yes.
plans. I've worked with the care coordinators back in the day when I think it was like Smoky Mountain back then. It wasn't Via yet. It was like Smoky Mountain and Western Highlands or whatever it was back then. And I remember having conversations with care coordinators and stuff like, look, man, I'm having conversations with dude while I'm here. When y'all show up, he acting one way. When y'all leave, I'm in here. You feel me? So I know people who don't made a way for them to work the system. And then when people who really be needing help, that's at a certain stage of change, come on now, somebody want to get some help with housing, some affordable housing. They can't get no help because there's people who are not even participating in that stage of change, will pre-contemplation. Come on now, somebody that's able to get the resources quicker because they learn how to work the system.
The system. And the thing is, a lot of people go in, the people that are working within the system, a lot of them decide they have this enabling spirit. You know, because a lot of people are going to be listening to like, well, what do you mean housing first? There was a governmental plan put into place by HUD back at the turn of the millennium. And I remember because I was in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I was the vice president of the Homeless Coalition. And they wanted to adopt housing first because of the dollar bills involved in that. And to me, I was so raw, you know, I was just like, I was so raw back then. I was just fired up. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And not address their addictive behavior patterns before you put them in there. They're not going to change just because you put them in a house.
Yeah.
In fact, it's going to encourage them because they have the security. I've even seen some folks, Coop, that they put in there would not sleep in the house because they hadn't transitioned. They have not dealt with the fact they've been living outside for so long on the streets.
Should die from freezing to death outside, right? And there's a level of like bringing in people who specialize in working with people who are chronically unhoused, bringing those specialists to deal with the people who are not going to change, who are not ready to change, but don't need to die from freezing to death outside. Because let's be clear, like some people prefer to sleep outside than inside at certain times of year. I mean, I've known people who work for these organizations who are able to get people who have been, by definition, chronically unhoused, been able to get them to move up waiting lists to get housed. And then the person chooses not to stay in that apartment. They would rather stay outside because that's what they've gotten used to. And that's what they feel the safest with. But people shouldn't be dying from freezing to death outside, and people should be fed, you know, things like that. But like when we talk about utilizing all of these resources to get people housed and getting permanent housing and stuff like that, what about the people that's at a certain stage of change? People who are coming home from treatment, people who are coming home from incarceration, who need to be safely housed while they go find a job because they want to work, and they're going to their recovery meetings and they're getting their sheet signed. What about them? And then they're paying outrageous amounts to stay in recovery houses, you know, because many of them might not have a work ethic or a portable credential. They don't have a trade,
or have learned that. Yeah,
come on, sir. And like, let's invest in workforce housing if that's the case, and let them stay there for free and go to the community college and get into one of those short-term job trainings. If you want to talk like housing first, you feel me? But like it's just always baffled me, bro, because I be knowing these people. Like, you know where my office is at. I walk South French Broad like to get steps in. I be out there. I run into people, bro. You know what I'm saying? I will walk downtown, especially when I'm not traveling. I love to be in these streets. You know what I'm saying? And I be seeing people that I've known for years. You know what I'm saying? They still having the same conversations with me. You know, they wrestle with mental health challenges. Yes, I also wrestle with mental health challenges, and I take medication. And I got a sponsor. Shout out to you, big bro. I got people who pour into my cup. I take my meds and I got the Holy Ghost. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And my life is a life that is I have serenity even when hard times come.
Mm.
And that same thing can work for other people whenever they're ready to participate in the process. And if they're not ready to participate in the process, does it even make sense to spend a whole lot of resources on them who are not ready? Is that
Yep.
really being a good steward?
And let's think about it. Let's just the two guys on this podcast right now. There was a point in time in our lives we weren't ready.
Yeah.
We said we were, but we weren't. In our heart of hearts, we knew we weren't. And
Mhm.
then there came that point of I'm ready. And there
Yeah.
are certain people that fed into us that realized, okay, he's ready now. So that whole thing, and there's a shift. You know, me and you talk about we really don't care about politics too much,
Yeah.
and we do, but we don't. We don't make it the manifestation of how we go about our business like a lot of
Mhm.
people do. And there's been a change in administrations, and
Mhm.
you know, especially with your lane that you're in, a change in administration could really affect the financing for the work
Mhm.
you do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is a good shift, especially
Yeah.
because you're positioned because you've been doing the work. And you know, we never did get to
Mhm.
what you're going, where you're going up to DC this week to do. What does that involve? So everybody can be praying
Yeah.
for you.
So I appreciate that too, because prayer is major in what I do, bro. And like I'm going up there for a prevention and recovery summit. So they're going to be talking about innovations that have been working. They're going to be talking about it was another session. Let me see. I might even be able to pull out the the sessions that's going to be coming up. One session is going to be about, challenges and opportunities for coalition building across prevention and recovery.
Mm,
One session is going to be about, innovations and successes. One data driven solutions at the intersection of prevention and recovery. Um, you know, let me see what else is on here. Uh, yeah, establishing the landscape challenges and opportunities for coalition building. That's the one that I'm ready to really participate in the most. But I love when we have these types of convenings because, bro, like I did a social media post about this last night, but like God knew what he was doing when he let, especially like you, because me and you are very much alike. Like
yeah.
we're able to communicate across cultures, across denominations, across skin tones, across socioeconomic statuses. We are black, formerly incarcerated men. You're also a veteran, so like we really check a lot of boxes.
Boxes.
So no matter what administration is in, we are going to be there representing an oppressed people in some type of way, right?
Yep.
And so for me, like looking at what I'm going to be able to contribute to the dialogue there is like talking about the innovations that glory be to God I've been able to start up here in Western North Carolina, which is a very unique place. I have to remind people sometimes, and it ain't even just a North Carolina thing, but we black Appalachians have to remind people like, yes, black people are in the Appalachia. Hey, here we are. You know what I'm saying? And so like with being a minority in the Appalachia, we have to be even more strategic in how we build coalitions. So who
Mm,
else better to contribute to those in those dialogues about
mm,
coalition building than somebody who has had to figure out how to navigate stigma of the church, stigma from whatever substance you was using, stigma of mental health, and you're black. You know what
mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So it's like being able to bring some of those solutions, talking about how we can leverage the church. Let the church say amen. That's one thing I say right now with the current administration. It's like the church, we really talk about faith-based initiatives more. And I'm happy
Yep.
for that because
Yep.
now we can really talk about the church. And it's not saying that the church is ready to do everything, but it is saying that we're seeing the church as a potential a community asset that can be equipped to stand in the gap during this behavioral health workforce shortage.
Hey, good stuff. Good stuff. So we'll be praying for that trip. I think you pull out tomorrow or this afternoon, one out the two.
Tomorrow.
But yep. So let's talk about something near and dear to your heart with the
Mhm.
last quarter hour we got, man. Let's talk about Recovery Church.
Mhm.
I'm seeing these pop up a lot more around. I know there's a big one in Charlotte, but
Yeah.
God kind of orchestrated some things for you to start something here. So let's talk about that, man. Just open up that can of gumbo and let's get in it.
Let's get in it.
Um, about Recovery Church.
Yeah.
What's that
So
all about?
so bro, I just found out about Recovery Church this year. So let me tell you right now, I was invited to be the speaker at the launch of the Recovery Church in Charlotte.
Okay.
And when I was there, that's when I first learned about Recovery Church. Recovery Church has been around since 2010. It's been
Mm,
around, and they
okay.
got them in a lot of different places. So for the listeners, man, check into the Recovery Church movement. I'm gonna tell you, Apostle, why I love Recovery Church, and you're gonna be able to appreciate this because I always come to you for a blessing based off of what I do in ministry anyway.
Right.
Recovery Church is like a church service. It's not replacing Celebrate Recovery. It's not replacing Recovery Alive. It's a church service for people in recovery. It's whether you're Celebrate Recovery, Recovery Alive, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, Gambling, whatever. Now you're coming to this church service that is geared toward people
Mm,
in recovery. You got your praise and worship, you got a message, and deuces. You know what I'm saying? I am so lit for this, bro. Like I'm in infancy stages of getting one started up in Asheville. I'm not gonna mention that church's name just yet,
right.
but in infancy stages because it does typically require a church partner, but it's its own thing though. So like with Celebrate Recovery, it tends to be a ministry of a certain church.
Right.
Recovery Church is a standalone. It's handling its business. Now the church can support it now, and we need churches support to support it. But the deal, man. A lot of churches, like if they really know what's going on in the community and they know what their congregation look like, I've met pastors. Shout out to Pastor Sam, Pastor Justin. Like they reach out and they be like, "Hey, man, we really want to be a part of supporting the work in recovery, man. We know it's a lot of people, in whatever town their church is on that we want to be able to reach. And like, if we don't have the people in our congregation to do it, we want to partner with somebody that's doing it. And
Mm,
that's what's
okay.
needed, bro. It's bigger than Asheville. I'm talking about we're in infancy stages for Burke County as well, and it's needed across the nation. And the reason I say it's needed because we don't necessarily got to pull people out of ENA. We don't got to pull people out of AA. A lot of them people love the Lord. They just ain't found the right church yet. A lot of
Right.
people, you know what I'm saying? Come on now. People be loving the Lord on the low. Someone be mad, but they be loving the Lord on the low. They can't turn that music down when they hear Tasha Cobbs. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? They hear that
Yeah.
Tasha Cobbs come on and they get, you know what I'm saying? Because it's in them. They're in a world, you know what I'm saying? And so people need Recovery Church to be able to come and build community with other believers and be able to take that higher power conversation to the next level by way of stating Elohim, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha, El Shaddai, Adonai. You know what I'm saying? They want to come somewhere so they can name their higher power. And that's what's going to be happening in the Recovery Church.
So you've done a couple of services already, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. So we was doing these recovery friendly worship nights, and I believe we're gonna be doing more. We paused because it is a heavy lift. It takes a lot of lifting to pull off those, especially the big ones like we did. One was 300, one was 400 people. And
Okay.
so like it really takes people we're gonna need more help to be able to continue to do those. But yes, sir, I preached at the launch, which was at Covenant Community Church.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then I preached at the one that was at Living Water Church in Old Fort last month. And this month we're not going to have a recovery friendly worship night, but I'm going to be live streaming Mount Up is the sermon series from the Sermon on the Mount. And the name of the title of the message is Good Morning, the blessing no one wants. And blessed are those who mourn is what we're coming from, Matthew 5:4. And so I'm gonna keep on keeping it hot with the messages because that's what I really want to do is have recovery relatable messages in a way that people in recovery can understand it, right?
Right.
Because like you say, I didn't go through seminary. You know what I'm saying? I know the word now. I got me a couple good scriptures. I know that Sermon on the Mount. I can take you to the book of Isaiah. We can do something in the book of James. Good God Almighty. We can go to Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? But when it come down to it, like I'm not there yet. I'm not a pastor of a church per se, but I am an evangelist that's able to articulate the Bible in a way that a person in no matter what stage of recovery they're in, they're able to see it, they're able to see it in their life, relate to it, and then apply it in their life.
Right. And you touched on something. I'm a guide us in an area now because you opened that door. And you said, "Blessed are those that mourn." Tell everybody why that scripture and that particular passage in the word has really affected you personally? Because see,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't understand as a man of God
Yeah.
or as a woman of God, sometimes people are like, why they always preaching about what God's putting them through? Because that's how we
Yeah.
relate to God, and that's how
Yeah.
God gets through us what he needs, right?
Yeah.
Um, tell us why. I know why, but I need
Yeah.
people to
I'm trying
understand
to see if
why.
they can see that 2024 tattooed on my face right there.
I
Yeah,
see
they
it
can see.
pretty
You can
good
see it.
right now.
So that
Yes.
that 2024 for those who are viewing, that's the year that my daughter, 10 years old, Kenzie Ray Cooper, went to be with Jesus, from complications from the flu. And when she went to be with Jesus, my mental state was impacted. It was the most traumatizing event that I've ever had. And they say it is the worst thing that can happen to a human is to lose a child.
Mm,
And for me, at that moment, it was only God that could wrap His arms around me. It was very dark. I was questioning God. I was pissed off at God.
yeah.
You know, but God can handle my anger. He can
Yes, he
handle.
can.
He can handle my anger, and in those moments of pain, man, the extreme pain and confusion and frustration, the only thing that I had left was to call upon the name of the Lord. They say the joy of the Lord is my strength. The only
Mm,
thing that I had around me that I could trust, that was safe to be around, was godly people. And so when I say blessed are those who mourn, and I'm going to dive into that when during the sermon, when I say blessed are those who mourn, the blessing is being close to God. And sometimes it takes something traumatizing to happen for a person to get close to God. Sometimes we got to lose something, because we can mourn something other than, the death. Like, we can
yeah.
be mourning a job, we can be mourning an old way of life, we can be mourning,
A
an
divorce.
identity, or we can be
Yes.
mourning a dream that didn't come
Yes.
true, a divorce. It's just so many things we can be mourning. And the pain that comes from that grief will drive us to our knees, because there's nothing else that can feel it. Our hands are empty, and the
Mm,
only thing that we can do is receive from God at the time.
mm. So true. So
Yep.
true. And let me say this. I think one of the reasons why you've been able to walk it out the way you walked it out, I remember, and man, we didn't even talk about going into this, but I do remember I spoke at your daughter. You had multiple ones of us in the
Mhm.
community ministers to speak at your daughter's celebration
Mhm.
service. Um, I remember you standing up and publicly saying at that ceremony who Jesus Christ was to you. And there were some people in that room that needed to hear it,
Yeah.
especially with the highways and byways you travel and the relationships you have, and everybody knows you in the city. And
Yeah.
what's this dude gonna do? Is he really gonna stick to Jesus now that he's been
Yeah.
shaken to his core? His daughter has transitioned to be with the Lord and under the circumstances. And I remember because when I got the news, my son Joshua called me and told
Yeah.
me, and I was at Return to Glory conference, and I was about to go speak actually, and I said, and he said, I don't know if Coop's gonna be okay. I said, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He knows where his strength comes from.
Yeah.
Now, saying that does not make it any easier or lighten the subject of
Yeah.
you're still mourning, you're still grieving,
Yeah.
and that looks different for a lot of people, man. And
Yeah.
I will tell you one guy, and he's secular. But I'm telling you, man, God has anointed this guy to start talking about grief
Mm.
and mourning. And it's Anderson Cooper from CNN. He
Oh,
has a
okay.
powerful podcast, and he gets people from all different walks of life, man, to talk about their grieving, because he really didn't think about grieving until his mother, Gloria Vanderbilt, passed.
Mm-hmm.
And now he has this podcast. This is all he talk about is mourning and grief.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks different for other people.
Yeah.
And for you, it looked different because a lot of people were like, well, we're going to see where he goes.
Yeah.
And this was part of, if you did not have that foundation in recovery,
Mm.
in the community around you, and let's be honest, there's a lot of people that try and attach themselves to you for the limelight.
Yeah.
But that community of recovery, I'm pretty sure you actually had to turn the phone off. So many people were concerned about you. And I'm
Yeah.
not just talking about within the moment, I'm talking about after the moment. So can you kind of drill down? probably the last 5 minutes here on what relationship is truly about to the
Yeah.
change agent.
Yeah. So first off, I'm gonna say, like, in this life, for me, I want to live like Christ. Like I wanna walk this world, and I want to be a representation of Jesus the Christ. And Jesus had 12, and then he had three that was real close to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I know if he had it that way, I got to have it that way.
Mm.
And so for me, relationships is everything, man. Like, I don't like no I mean, and you can tell when it's transactional because we wise men now. But I know it's certain people that I need to be calling once a month, once a week, and then I got people that I need to be checking in and making sure they come in the group. It's all about relationships. Cause even in looking at suicide prevention, people die by suicide whenever they lose hope and they feel alone. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
all about relationships. The social determinants of health that people oftentimes talk about in the field, like especially the public health experts. We got a neighborhood and built environment, access to education, access to healthcare. You got economic stability, and you got one that is very, very important: social and community context. That
Mm.
social component in life is so needed for a person to have quality of life. And in the lifestyle as an evangelist, it's all about relationships, because I'm out here street preaching, crisis unit preaching, jail preaching. Like, I'm moving around, and I got to have relationships with House of Emmaus. I got to have relationships with Orchard Church West. I got to have relationships with Covenant Community Church. I got to have relationships with the Refreshing Center. I got to have relationships with Tridestone. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because at the end of the day, as an evangelist, after me getting people hyped up in a salvation, I need to be able to warm hand off them to a body that's going to
Mm.
be able to disciple them. And
Mm.
discipleship, what's that? Deeper relationship. It's
Come on,
all about
evangelist.
relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's all about. It starts with the relationship with the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, man.
Yes, sir.
And I know you're big, and you've been burned in relationship. That
Hmm.
comes,
Yeah.
and relationship isn't necessarily the cleanest thing. Sometimes it can get a little messy,
Yeah.
but you got to walk through it, man.
Yeah.
So, thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for just opening up. I really wasn't gonna go into the whole grief thing, but
Yeah.
man, it's part of you.
Yeah.
It's been that season of your life, man, and
Yeah.
you've grown through it
Hmm.
tremendously. I mean, shout out to your wife having to support you through that. And we talked
Yeah.
about covering. I might have you come back on. We talk about covering, man, because she was
Yeah.
your covering when
Yeah.
when you were grieving, man. You were
Yeah.
you were almost paralyzed in something. You
Yeah.
went about day to day, but she
Yeah.
was your covering. She protected you.
Yeah.
And we need to talk. We always talk about the man being the cover, but sometimes our wives cover us, man.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
in, in that relationship, I want to get into that maybe down the road with you, man. So
Mhm.
all I can say is shalom, shalom,
Shalom. Shalom.
shalom. I'm a sign you out. I appreciate you, evangelist, and once again, we'll talk about the recovery rally on September the 3rd. Come out.
Mhm.
I'm sure Operation Gateway is going to have their booth. Um, Western Carolina Rescue Ministries will have theirs, and just come out there, chop it up, because Philip and Vince are going to be acting a fool out there, loving on people, because
Turn
that's
them up.
what we do. That's what we do. So, man, I'm gonna sign you off, wrap this thing up, and blessings to you. Give your wife and the kids at the house our love. All right, brother.
Love you, Apostle.
Love you too, brother. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the one, the only evangelist, Reverend Philip Cooper of Operation Gateway, man. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. And just keep in mind, I mean, there's a lot of that we could really, really drill down on. So without further ado, I wish you the best. I give you love, peace, happiness. And, if you need to reach out to us, let us know. You can find us at www.conquerorministries.com. You can also find us at www.houseofemmaus.org. And just reach out. And I hope everyone has a great week in front of them. And we love you guys, and blessings to you. And we'll see you all on the next episode of the Conqueror's Quest. God bless you.